And with that, it is time to get back to work. Hi, once again, everybody. I'm Ed Berliner. Thank you for joining us for this very special GOP Iowa debate special. Oh, yeah, just about everybody was there, but we'll get to that in just a moment, all right? Why wait for all the final boring speeches? Let's get right to the red meat of the Iowa GOP debate, which is subtitled, He Whose Name Shall Not Be Mentioned. We will mention it once or twice. Veterans of the political tussles, both now joining us. Senior fellow at the London Center for Policy Research, Betsy McCaughey, joined by presidential historian and Ronald Reagan biographer Craig Shirley. I want to thank you both for joining us. Let's start right up front with what we need to talk about, and that is, of course, he who shall not be named. Because right at the beginning of the debate, you knew it was going to happen. Fox asked the question. Ted Cruz immediately dismissed the absence of he who shall not be named right from the very first moment. Here's what he said.
Let me say, I'm a maniac, and everyone on this stage is stupid, fat, and ugly. And Ben, you're a terrible surgeon. Now that we've gotten the Donald Trump portion out of the way, I want to thank everyone here for showing the men and women of Iowa the respect to show up and make the case to the people of this state and the people of the country why each of us believe we would make the best commander-in-chief.
All right, Betsy, I'm coming to you first. This was the night for Ted Cruz to shine. He didn't have to worry about Donald Trump. He started out with a joke that some people on social media said fell just a little flat. But in your opinion, how did he do?
He did pretty well. Actually, Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, and Jeb Bush all did quite well. But so far, it seems as if the real star tonight was Chris Christie. He had a lot of the humorous one-liners that the crowd loved. He had the tough talk, the mano-a-mano approach that makes Donald Trump generally the star of the night.
You mentioned his name. Please, I'm sorry, we're going to have to put you on double secret probation just for that because we still have a ways to go until we get there. Craig, let me come to you then, because Ted Cruz came out, made the joke. He came out very powerful tonight, but it was obvious that the other candidates on stage were going after him. How did he hold up?
I think he held up fairly well. He faltered a little bit, but that's the price you pay for being the front runner. And when he who shall not be named is not on the stage, all the attacks are aimed at him. And I think he handled it pretty well. He could have done a little bit better on some of the questions, but I think he did okay. Let's
go ahead and name him then. In your opinion, Craig, how did everybody do when Donald Trump came up? Because they certainly mentioned him right at the beginning. Did they do a good enough job in at least steering away from Trump and making sure that it was pointed right back at them on stage?
Oh, yeah. I think this was the best debate of all so far among the Republicans, and it may be because Donald Trump wasn't there to cast a pall over all the other participants. It was lively. It was informative. Fox's questions were a little bit too hostile, I thought, for my taste, a little bit too much focused on the politics of politics instead of policy. But I think all of them, and I agree with Betsy, I thought Chris Christie was superb. John Kasich did very well also, and I think he showed a lot more emotion, a lot more energy, and a lot more heart this time than he has in previous debates.
All right, now let's talk about that just a little bit, Betsy.
I want to disagree with Craig on one thing.
Okay.
It certainly was a substantive debate so far, but it wasn't the best debate because without the unmentioned Donald Trump there, it lacked a little of the excitement and humor that we've seen in the previous debates.
Well, but wait a minute. Let me go ahead and I'll answer back that. I'll answer back that one on you there, Betsy, because I think what Craig said is being shared by a lot of people. They felt like actually there was substance here for a change, and there was not a lot of joking around. There were not a lot of insults. There was not a lot of the same rhetoric from Mr. Trump. But let's face it, we're at the stage of the debate right now where everybody hits away at rhetoric. They're all hitting away at the same points. But wasn't this a chance for these guys to actually get out from under the shadow of Donald Trump?
That's right, but who do you want to be your commander-in-chief? Somebody who's generally in the shadow or the guy who casts the big shadow?
All right, let's go ahead and talk about some issues here. Again, it was Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio that were looked upon by everybody here as being the two that would go ahead and need to get out in front. When asked about ISIS, Cruz and Rubio both supported the need to increase and strengthen the military, and here were their responses.
You know, you claim it is tough talk to discuss carpet bombing. It is not tough talk. It is a different fundamental military strategy than what we've seen from Barack Obama. We need to define the enemy. We need to rebuild the military to defeat the enemy, and we need to be focused and lift the rules of engagement so we're not sending our fighting men and women into combat with their arms tied behind their backs.
This group needs to be confronted and defeated. They are not going to go away on their own. They're not going to turn into stockbrokers overnight or open up a chain of car washes. They need to be defeated militarily, and that will take overwhelming U.S. force. When I'm president, we are rebuilding the U.S. military because the world is a safer and a better place when America is the strongest military in the world.
Craig, here's what I saw and many other people saw in Marco Rubio. He was very much in your face. He was trying to be the adult in the room. He was trying to be, I think he was trying to be presidential in many ways because he was the one who kept saying, when I am president of the United States. Now, while Ted Cruz, I think, did very well, I think Marco Rubio scored some points here as well tonight.
Oh, I think he did too, and I think, as I said earlier, I think he did very well. This is the legacy of Ronald Reagan. You know, from the beginning of the Cold War up until Ronald Reagan's presidency, we had a bipartisan policy of coexistence and détente, and you know, basically go along with the Soviets. Reagan unveiled a new idiom, which was to defeat the Soviet Union, and made that part of his goal as president. Is that we've had for the last 7 years a president who's wanted to coexist with ISIS and coexist with the enemies of America, and the Republicans, to a man and a woman too, have all said something quite different, and that is that we need to defeat ISIS. And I think, you know, you have Reagan to thank for that, for his legacy of the Republican Party.
Betsy, I wanted to come to you for this because here's something else that I saw, and I guess a lot of other people. I want to ask you if you saw this as well. With Donald Trump missing now, it seemed that a lot of the candidates were really trying to one-up each other. They were stumbling over each other there for a point, trying to get out in front and saying, I'm the powerful guy. As a matter of fact, on social media, many people thought that Ted Cruz was trying to be Donald Trump in this. Do you think they kind of got out of their comfort zones just a little bit maybe, and were trying a little too hard there for a while, just to take up that vacuum?
That is the dynamic of most debates. Everyone is trying to be the dominant one. When Trump is there, the other guys just don't look dominant. So, of course, you saw more of that tonight. But I wanted to make a slightly different point, which is that you saw the real division on stage. The biggest disagreements were over immigration, and that will continue throughout this campaign. And it will be the albatross around Marco Rubio's neck, his sponsorship of the Gang of Eight bill.
It did seem that as we got towards maybe about the three-quarter end of the debate here, that the Fox moderators were trying to hone in on the immigration issue, Betsy. And when you look, I think they did a very good job because they brought up a lot of Marco Rubio's past statements. They brought up Ted Cruz's past statements, and they basically were asking them to pay for them, to explain them. Out of that exchange, when they were trying to explain it, who do you think did the best job?
I think Ted Cruz had a very solid performance there. And the fact that Steve King, Congressman Steve King of Iowa, very much a central figure in the Iowa caucus contest, is known to be adamantly against illegal immigration, adamantly for controlling the border. The fact that he's endorsed Ted Cruz tells the audience, especially the Iowa audience, who is most committed to stopping illegal immigration.
All right, now, Betsy, McCaughey, Craig, Shirley, please stand by. We've got a lot more to do, and of course, we are going to hear from Donald Trump a little bit and what happened at his event.